Today we are gonna talk about a guy that has been arrested over 50 times in the span of 16 years. And he has over 45 false identities. And he's a very special guy, so special that the list of 10 commandments of con artists was written by him. Who is him? We are gonna talk about him in a second. In German, the word lustig means funny. But if you met Victor Lustig, it was everything but fun. Now, if we try to find out where he's coming from, it's a bit hard. And that's because, well, he was a con artist, so how much can we trust a con artist talking about his childhood? And it really depends on the day you meet him. So he might either come from a very rich, wealthy family from the Bohemian part, or it might come from a very poor family from a farmer, who knows? And then there's this story about when he was 12 and his father decided that he wanted his son to be a famous violin player. So the first thing you do is you send him to play violin. And to do that, he bought him a violin and put him on a train to Vienna. Now, he was 12, but he was already talented, a bit like Kevin Mitnick we talked in the other video. So he decided to jump off the train and go to Paris instead. Because, come on, Paris is a lot more fun. And what's funnier than pickpocketing from people and living in a brothel? And brothels are quite funny place till the police raid them and bring you back to your father because you were there, and it's not really the best place for a young 12 years old. His father was kind of comprehensive, and by comprehensive I mean that he smashed the violin on his head, but I mean, put it in perspective. At the time, maybe he wasn't too violent. And if you wonder about his father's dream of him being a violin player, well, it's not gonna happen. But at a certain point in his life, when he was 19, he's back in Paris and he's studying at university, and he's quite good. But again, is not really what he wants to do. What he wants to do is again a bit of pickpocketing, a bit of scam, a bit of bulgari, whatever. Make money. Because when you're 19, you like money more than studying. But he was extremely smart. And by smart, I mean he already spoke two languages, French and Czech. And he also added Italian, English and German, which is quite something. And of course, he practiced as he could, like with a girl at the pub that happened to be with her boyfriend. And her boyfriend didn't like that, and so he stabbed him. Well, kind of stabbed him, he cut him open here. And that taught him a very important lesson. It's better to scam people that are not dangerous. What is the best place for a scam artist? Cruise ship. And now, do not think about cruise ship as today cruise ship, where you go there for a week or two and then stop everywhere. We're talking about Titanic cruise ship. So months of navigation in the middle of the ocean with no communication at all to the external world. And if you want to create a fake identity, that's a great place. You're not gonna meet someone who knows you. So what he did is he went there and then he went to play poker or blackjack, small bets, very quiet. And it's during the time he was on a cruise ship that he wrote the 10 commandments of a con artist. And they're so amazing. I don't want to skip any of them. I just want to read all of them because it's really, really good. Rule number 1, be a patient listener. You know the kind of con artist that just speaks super fast so you get confused and then you agree? Not that type. You need to be patient. Rule number 2, never look bored, which is kind of obvious. You're talking with someone, you want to look like you're actively listening, not like you're bored and the person will go away. Rule number 3, wait for the other person to have any political opinion and agree. And rule number 4 is pretty much the same, but about religion. Why risking? Wait for the other person to have a religion opinion and agree with it. Hint a sex talk, but don't follow through unless the other person is really interested in that topic. Never discuss illness. It's a sad topic, why bothering? Unless the person really wants to talk about it. And talking about things not to talk about, never pry into person's private stuff. They will tell you about them eventually, but let them talk, don't ask. And rule number 9, never be untidy, followed by rule number 10, never get drunk. Because being drunk means you lose control. So you can drink, but it's really important that the other person is drunker than you. Now, keep those rules in mind and let's see how he worked. So he was in the cruise ship, decided to go and play poker or blackjack. Doesn't matter, there's those small casinos on cruise ship. No, not that small actually. Anyway, he sat there, kind of bored, playing a little bit, and then suddenly he did some really fancy move with cards. Maybe a shuffle, maybe a flip, just to get someone interested. And so he waited for the other person to come to him and start talking. And that's when he tells his story. He's a Broadway producer. And what he does is he creates new shows. He goes to Europe, he finds investors, and then he goes back to the US to bring the money and start a show. And it's a very profitable business. But you wouldn't believe it. There's a show that just came up before he left, and he didn't have time to find investors. And then he lets settle in. Of course, he never proposed the other person to be the investor. He just says, well, that's a story. And it was the other person that was like, but can I invest in it? And it started being a bit difficult because that's a really smart rule of the con artist. It shouldn't be too easy. So he starts saying, well, you can, but I don't know the exact details. They told me last moment, so I don't want to make promises I cannot keep. Let's do it like this. We're arriving in a couple of days. You can come to the Broadway office and we can have a chat there. And if you like it, you can invest. And that's the nice part. He was friend with the husband of an actress that worked in Broadway. So he had some access to actual Broadway studios to perform the con in full. And he did it a lot of times. Of course, after a while things might go wrong, but it's extremely easy because you can just jump on a cruise ship on the way back and con someone else in reverse. Easy peasy. It is during his time in the United States that he met his first wife. Now, if as a con artist you create identities, marrying someone is a bit hard. How are you going to explain it? And of course, you find the best possible way. And he says, listen, my job is a bit strange. I travel a lot and I'm like an actor. I need to play different roles and tell people different things. And you will come with me and you will agree with whatever I'm saying, with whoever I am. And you will learn a lot and you will travel a lot and it will be a lot of fun, which is amazing. I mean, consider the time, a lot of people never travel in their life. So imagine traveling and meeting different people. It's really, really nice. And so they are in love, they had a son, and then she finds out that he has a lover. Who could expect that of a con artist? But not just that, she finds out that his lover is in the same hotel they are in. And so he decides to do that. He takes his son, go in the car and play hide and seek. And by playing hide and seek, it means that he tried to run over her husband that was trying to escape, while her son was like, what are you doing with Daddy? Oh, we just play hide and seek. Yeah, but it's over there. Yeah, but we have to catch him too. And well, Lustig survived and they broke up. But it doesn't matter because he had his lover and he started being with his lover. That's how con artists are. Plan B. And if you wonder how the love story goes, well, obviously he has another lover after the first lover, so they break up, but that's his life. It doesn't matter. Now, let's go back to the US. At that time, the biggest mafia boss was Al Capone. We're talking about the time of Prohibition, where Al Capone made a lot of money producing alcohol. And for a reason I don't understand, he wants to con him. So he asked a friend from Mafia in New York to get him an appointment, and after a while he's able to get it. And that's a genius part. He buys this amazing dress. And then he goes to a craftsman and says, can you make me a cane with a whiskey bottle inside? So he goes there and obviously they check the cane because a lot of people have swords in canes. So they check the cane, they find alcohol, and Al Capone loves it. Imagine you're the biggest alcohol producer of the illegal world and you find a guy that brings alcohol in his cane. He absolutely loved it. So they start chatting and he said that he found this great business, he can double his money in 2 months, blah, 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 blah. And it was really good. So he convinced Al Capone to give him $25,000. It doesn't say in his biography, but I think as soon as he leaves the office, he understands the risk of it. So he takes those money and put it in a closet and forget about them for 2 months. And after 2 months, he takes them back. He goes to Al Capone and says, I'm really sorry. The thing didn't work out. I'm just giving you back the money. I'm really sorry again. Now, I don't know what he expected, But Al Capone was so impressed by how honest this guy was that he says, well, it happens. In this line of business, it happens. So here, $5,000 just because you tried and because I really appreciate you came back. That's amazing. That's amazing. As usual, after a while, it's time to go back to Europe. But before doing so, he decided to visit Montreal, because why not? And here, he targets a banker. He pays someone to steal the banker's wallet so the day after he can go to him and say he found his wallet. And they start chatting. And of course, again, all the rules, he listens and he finds out that this guy bets on horses. And as usual, he throws his there and he says, I bet on horses too, but my cousin works there, so practically I have a special line with the telegraph and he give me the result like 10-15 seconds before the race finish, so I'm able to know who will win. So pretty much I play safe. Of course, small sums, we don't want to be noticed, we want to stay under the radar, but well, if you want, I can let you play a couple of times with us, no problem. Now, wouldn't you? Of course. And remember, that's very common in con artists. You need to be guilty, so you are not going to go to the police. Anyway, he starts betting, small wins, he has enough money to cover. Remember that he is a very successful con artist. And after a month, he says, listen, my cousin wife is pregnant. He wants to stop doing this because he's afraid of being arrested, and now that he has a child, they want to be a good man for him. So we're doing one last bet. At this point, we can bet as much as we want because it will never happen again. They will never find us. Do you see where it's going? It's quite clear. He gets a lot of money for a bet and time to go to Europe. So back to Europe is in Paris. And he's in Paris in an amazing time because everyone is talking about the Eiffel Tower. Now, if you know, the Eiffel Tower was built as a temporary thing, but they decided to keep it. But it's metal, and metal goes bad over time. So now that we're discussing, should we fix it because it's very expensive, or is finally time to dismantle it? And here he has the brightest idea ever, and he became the Count Victor Lustig, the son of a very rich Bohemian family that had to emigrate to Paris due to problems during the First World War. Amazing. So he's not just the Count, but he created documents where he's also the Minister of Communication and Post Offices, the person in charge of finding the right companies to take out the Eiffel Tower. And it does think big. He called the 5 biggest metal scraper of Paris, put them together in a room, explain the situation, which they can verify anywhere, it's on all newspaper. And then a Rolls Royce comes and says, let's go and have a look at the tower. So he arrived there with his rented Rolls Royce, he goes to the Guardian and show him the paper and convince him that he's the actual minister. And practically they enter in the Eiffel Tower on a private tour. And not just that, because there were workers there, and so he says, this is my team, they are just evaluating how long it will take to take down the tower. It was incredible. It was really incredible. At that point, there will be a bid, and he already chose who is the victim. André Poisson goes to him the day before the final check to say that he talked with his wife and he doesn't want to go through. But remember, he's the designated victim. So he says, well, that's really a pity because I already checked the bid results and you won. Your offer was the best one. And well, if you don't want to proceed, no problem. But in case you change your mind, there's a small business fee that we have to deal with. And that's really interesting because he knows that at the time any politician would take a bribe. So he created a fake bribe on a fake bid on a fake work that he created. And not a small bribe. I mean, we're talking about a job that was 200,000 francs, around $5 million US today, and the bribe was 70,000. So we are talking 2.83 millions. That's a quite decent bribe. But of course, if you want to be convincing, you have to shoot high. And he was. So the day after, André went there with a suitcase full of cash, which he happily took and says, we will meet tomorrow at the Minister of blah blah blah, blah blah blah, it doesn't matter. Because there was nothing. André went there and there was nothing. No one knew him, there was no project of taking down the Eiffel Tower, and he realized that he was screwed. And he was really screwed because he put a lot of the money of his company in this project, and if he goes to the police and this thing goes public, it will be bankrupt in no time because everyone will know he's not reliable. So he had to suck it in and keep going And that gave the possibility to Victor to sell the Eiffel Tower again. The second time, yes, he sold it, but then the guy realized it like few days before he finalized the offer. So it doesn't work out. He goes to the police and it's time for Victor to fly again. And obviously, we are back to the United States. And here he invented something that is still used to con people today, the Romanian box. Practically, he goes to a craftsman and says, I want a magic box with 2 entrances, more or less the size of a box of cigar, and I want to put 1 piece of paper and $100 on one side, and I want to take 2 pieces of $100 on the other side. So the con worked like this. He told the story that he was a noble coming from Europe that didn't have such a good time recently, and I guess he liked the part of the noble because who wouldn't? And well, he didn't have much money, but he had a way to go by. And the way was this box, and he showed it to whatever victim he found. So see, you put a piece of paper and a banknote and his special ink, and then it takes around 6 hours to do his magic, and then you take $200 from the other side. And to be very convincing, he even produced a fake note, so he took a real one and he changed the serial number in a way that the 2 banknotes were indeed identical. And the first time he tried, the guy says, well, I want to see it. I want to really know that this banknote is real. So they went to a bank, they showed to a cashier, and it was real. Of course, he gave the original one because he wasn't an idiot, but it worked. And the guy loved it. And he says, I'm gonna give you $25,000 if you give it to me today. I mean, it's true you can do $100, but it's $100 per time. It will take you forever. So pretty much I'm giving you a few years in advance. And Victor was a bit, I don't know if I want to sell it to you, but listen, I really like you, blah, blah, blah. Here's the box. And the guy will find out in a day or two that the box doesn't work. Anyway, try, the box doesn't work, but it's too late. Victor is already gone. And here we are again, somewhere in the US, where he got arrested by a local sheriff. This time, it's nothing to do with the box, but, a con artist doesn't just do the box thing, he do whatever he can. So he got arrested for whatever reason, and he's this super well-dressed guy in this remote region prison. And at that time, there was no mobile phone, there was nothing to do, so the sheriff was there, they start talking, and he's really curious about this guy. Why does he speak so well? Why is he dressed so well? What is this box that he carried when we arrested him? He had no idea, so they start chatting. And remember, he was a very enchanting person. So after a while, he's out of his cell drinking with the sheriff, and the sheriff started talking about his life. And remember, he did drink, but less than the sheriff. And the sheriff said that he felt in love with this prostitute from a local brothel. And it's really costing him a lot of money. So Victor is touched by this story and he says, I want to help you. If you get the box that I had when you arrested him, I will show you something. So he did the magic trick to a police chief and he made it. Not just made it in the meaning that it worked, he made it in the meaning that he left the police station with $10,000 and freedom. But he was arrested again 2 days after. And that's when the sheriff found out that the box didn't work. It doesn't matter. If you're a con artist, nothing matters. Because you can always create a new story. So I told the sheriff, tell me exactly how you use the machine. Oh, but you made a mistake. You need to put the ink this other way. And while he was saying that, it is this magical movement and put $200 in the machine. So it was going to work once. So I told the sheriff, listen, don't worry, I'm sleeping there. I give you back the $10,000. We meet again tomorrow morning, and if the machine worked, you will tell me. And the day after, the sheriff asked him to take back the $10,000 because it was his fault for not having used the machine properly. That's how amazing it was. Of course, he will find out again, but at this time, Victor understood it's time to go really far. If you wonder what happened to the sheriff after, well, he got arrested because turned out the $100 that he added were actually fake. But, you wanted to create fake money, so you kind of deserve it, and you let a prisoner escape, so you kind of deserve it again. And about Victor, well, he was arrested one last time, because this time they sent him to Alcatraz. And that's because he escaped before. And in Alcatraz, he will die of a pulmonary disease. And even about this story, there's a bit of weirdness, because he did called the guards and said, I'm feeling bad, but the guards ignored him. And they ignored him because he asked to go to the infirmary over 1,000 times in the span of 3 years. And he produced over 500 fake notes from a doctor for any kind of prescription. So, fire, and then you're screwed. Anyway, he will die there, and there will never be a prisoner called Victor Lustig in Alcatraz. The name they used was Robert V. Miller, an apprentice salesman. We don't know why that name, we don't know if it was the real name or if it was just another identity created. It doesn't matter because he's a legend, and if you notice, all the con I told you about are used in movies and some are still used today to con people. And if you like this video, now is the time to subscribe to this channel if you haven't already, so you will push me to do more videos in English and I can tell you amazing stories like this one. Stay alive, stay alive.